All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Tuesday Night Talks with our Executive Director of the Atlanta Citizens Review Board, Lee Reed. I am the Communications Specialist, Melissa Jean Baptiste. And if this is your first time listening to the podcast, I'm going to have our ED go ahead and explain to you guys what the ACRB is and what we actually do. Take it away, Lee.
Hey, Melissa, thank you. And thank you for everyone who's able to watch this podcast. Well, I'm Lee Reed, the Executive Director of the Atlanta Citizen Review Board. The Atlanta Citizen Review Board is an independent investigative agency of the city of Atlanta. We are charged with investigating, mediating citizen complaints against Atlanta police and corrections officers. So that means if you have a concern, a question, complaint against an Atlanta police or corrections officer, that you should definitely contact our office so we can conduct an investigation as needed, or you could participate in the mediation with the officer to try to resolve the complaint to the satisfaction of both of you. So really, it's an easy program that does not require a lot of heavy lifting. Just you need to contact us with your concern so that we can take it the rest of the way. That's it, the ACRB.
Right. And tonight's Tuesday Night Talk, we're going to be discussing one of Atlanta's many police use of force cases. So today we're looking at a particular incident that happened in Fulton County. In Fulton County, in 2017, Deaundre Phillips was shot by an Atlanta police officer, Yasin Abdulahad, in 2017. And now in 2021, we're coming back to this story, and the Fulton DA has chosen not to prosecute this officer and in the shooting of this young father. So the family members pretty much and the community advocates pretty much protested outside of Fulton County District Attorney's Office August 12th, Thursday, after they learned that DA Fani Willis will be closing the case of the 2017 shooting and will not be prosecuting him. And there's some really crazy and sketchy things that kind of happen within this whole story unfolding, because there is footage of the actual event and what happened that very night. And the story of the officer doesn't necessarily match up with the evidence that was shown. So it was really, really like hurtful to that family. He was shot by the officer in 2017 in an incident where the officer's original narrative contradicted the surveillance, and it leads the family to still have questions and to question if they even have justice till this day. So we have a few questions for you in regards to this topic, because it is so closely related to what we do and how we see police use of force go south. And even after the particular incident occurs, they're able to still continue to move forward with their careers and not really feel any type of, being reprimanded at all, in particular to the accident. So the first question that we have for you, Lee, is, should the family of Deshaun Phillips seek to prosecute the officer again, since in Georgia, we have no statute of limitations for murder?
Well, first thing I want to say, is it's sad that the family lost a member of their loved one, right, of their family. In the way that our justice system is designed, families should seek every recourse that they can to get closure and justice as they need for their family member. Right. I want to address a couple of things related to this without knowing all of the particulars, because we didn't do an investigation on that complaint, on that incident. And one thing I wanted to mention is that, when we're looking at the criminal prosecution of a citizen or an officer, the DA's office weighs in on the standard for a criminal conviction is beyond a reasonable doubt, right? Which is like the highest standard that you can get to when you're trying to determine whether someone should be held accountable for their actions, right? So that's one thing. And I definitely understand what you were saying about the discrepancies in the between what the officer said and the video that surfaced.
Right.
And using that, I want to talk about how the ACRB could benefit or would have benefited
Right.
the family members. Um, when a citizen files a complaint with us, it's an administrative investigation. We're looking at, did the officer's actions violate the APD policies? Okay. Our standard of proof is by the preponderance of the evidence, meaning it's more likely than not 50%, over 50% of the weight of the evidence supports that the officer violated the actions. Now, I think if I recall correctly, when you were talking about the incident, um, the officer story is different from the video,
Yes.
right? Well, in an administrative investigation, we definitely look at those things. One, did the officer perjure themselves doing it by making an inaccurate statement during the report or during the interview with the state with the agency? That's grounds for discipline, can be grounds for termination, and can be grounds for whether the officer be able to testify in future cases. That's a very serious charge. That's
Right.
something that would be looked at in an administrative type of investigation. Secondly, did the officer follow, while if the officer did not commit a criminal act to meet the beyond a reasonable doubt, did the officer's actions violate the policies with what the officer did? Which means that did the officer follow that policy that the police department prescribes as saying, this is what you're supposed to do, or this is not what you're supposed to do. And if the
Exactly.
officer did, then that would also be a violation. And the officer would be subject to, depending on how serious the charge is, the allegation is, can be suspension, written reprimands to termination. You know, um, so there are other avenues that the family should or could follow. That's why we encourage everyone when they're filing complaints against, when they have concerns about officer actions, pursue the criminal prosecution,
For sure.
but definitely pursue the administrative investigations as well. File with OPS, file with the Office of Professional Standards, file with the ACRB, the Atlanta Citizens Review Board. So we can see on both tracks, the criminal
Exactly.
and the administrative, did this officer do something that they were not supposed to do, right? And then, of course, you have the third leg, which is the civil lawsuit that also can bring justice to the family. So these are things that that I would encourage families to pursue all those avenues. And I know some lawyers may say, well, I want to hold this case to figure I don't want anything messing with my case, and so they may not want their clients to pursue the administrative at that time. But we have a statute of limitations on how long we could take a complaint. Currently, a year from the incident, a year from the date of the incident. The sooner you file a complaint, the better. So I just want to say, anytime you have a concern or question, even if there's a criminal prosecution or a criminal investigation,
That's
still
going
file that
through.
complaint. Now, one thing I will say is this: if there's a criminal investigation, because we would never want to do anything to jeopardize a criminal investigation, we would hold our investigation until the criminal investigation has concluded. For example, and I'll make this quick because I don't want to seem like I'm just talking a lot.
No, but it does go into my second question, which is if they were to have filed a complaint, because we know this family did not, if they were to have filed a complaint with the ACRB, could that be used as evidence in a criminal investigation? Or could
Well,
a history, if that officer had one, reportedly?
potentially. But
Okay.
with the criminal investigations, they're gonna work up their investigations from the ground up. Right now, let's say if our investigation had a witness that was not that was not talked with in the criminal investigation, or the officer lied during our investigation, those are certainly things that the family would want to bring up to the criminal um, investigative team
Yeah,
to
yeah.
make sure that all bases are covered. That's what you want to do. Make sure that all bases are covered. Everything that can be found out is going to be found out. Every person that can be talked to is going to be talked to, you know. But as I was saying earlier, when there's a criminal investigation, we will have to hold our complaint investigation.
So
I mean, our
normally
complaint
it's done
investigation
after.
until that one is concluded, right? Because we don't want to jeopardize the investigation. And really holding it is because we won't be able to get the officer's statement until after that criminal investigation. You know, um, on matters that are not necessarily criminal matters, we'll just continue with our investigation as soon as we receive this.
As soon as we get them. Okay.
Yes.
And you definitely did name a few already, but for families like Deaundre Phillips that and others that are continuing to fight for justice for their slain family member who may have not gotten the trial, what are those other resources? I know you did name, I think that was OPS. Just for those of our viewers and people who live outside of our district of Atlanta and you know that have those incidents with other officers outside of Atlanta Police Department, what are those like the general outlets that they can reach out
Yeah.
to report officer misconduct?
In most situations, when we're talking about a death, um, you certainly want to file a complaint with the department's Office of Professional Standards or the Internal Affairs. In places that have civilian oversight, you definitely want to file a complaint with the Civilian Oversight Agency.
Right.
Also, if you feel like or believe that your family has not been justice is being denied, or that the investigation is not occurring, you want to, definitely seek legal counsel, as this family did. And you also want to consider contacting the Department of Justice so that they can initiate to see if they will initiate an investigation into what happened to your family member. And usually they'll use the FBI to help do that. And in some jurisdictions that have decided they're not going to do the critical type of investigations involving officer involved shootings, they will contact the GBI who will do the investigation. And along each step, whatever process you use or you take advantage of all of them, the family wants to stay involved in the investigation, because at the end of the day, it's about um, ensuring that your family member receives the appropriate and effective type of investigation that would render some closure to the family.
Yeah.
We all want the truth.
It
And
does
that's
get
what when there's questions hanging out there, people feel like they don't receive the truth. And so that's what we should be always striving for. The families are striving for the truth. The ACRB is striving for the truth. Other departments are supposed to be striving for the truth as well. So that's what I would say about that.
and it's really important that you say that the family stick with it, because a lot of times going through those steps, those investigations, I'm sure take a long time, and it does take some years. Just like in this case, they had to wait 5 years for a prosecution that did not happen. So though you may go through years where you hear nothing and it may seem really quiet, it is always up to the family member, even though it may bring up a very terrible time, that they keep up with that process to make sure that justice is ultimately served. So that's definitely important that they do their due diligence as well.
And one of the things that family would want to do, and what we've been seeing a lot of lately, is definitely engaging other community members
Mhm.
to support the call for, adequate investigations, and bringing media attention to it.
Yeah.
Those things are important. Um, but again, I want to say, if you choose to go a civil litigation route, or um, or it's a case that's under criminal investigation,
Mhm.
you still want to do the administrative investigation, because there are things that might not violate the law and get a conviction, but violated the policies,
Exactly.
which can hold the officer accountable, and where those officers need to be removed, they're removed.
And it keeps a record. That's a really important part, that even though, because not, I know every case that we have does not always have an end result where an officer has days off or where they are laid off or things like that, but it keeps a record that this officer comes up, and that's the really important thing, because it could always prevent this from happening, to someone else. And we always want to make sure as a community we protect each other, and that's the whole point of,
Right,
filing that complaint, so others are put on alert.
right.
But we just have it, that I really hope that family is able to find some type of justice for their family member. And it's just one of the many cases where we know, an officer has escaped accountability, just as you said, and has not been prosecuted. But we do have one question from our chat line, and they just want to know if we help people that do call in with complaints with special needs. And that is pretty broad, but we want to say if we had any mental challenges or anything like that, anyone with any type of mental illness, if they needed our help from the ACRB, if we cater to them.
Certainly, certainly. Our goal is to serve everyone in the community. Um, if someone needs assistance to file a complaint, our goal and our duty is to provide assistance to them, um, making sure that they have the accessibility to be able to file a complaint, to
Exactly.
be able to also allow, if they need a helper or a caregiver or uh, a guardian to attend the interviews with them, that's allowable. That happens.
Yeah.
We certainly make sure that occurs. If there are any difficulties that a citizen would have, communication wise or just comfortableness wise,
Yeah.
we're here to serve you.
Yeah.
That's why our investigators will go out into the field when they need to. That's why we'll do phone interviews when we need to. That's why we'll have interviews where citizen may say, I have to have my helper with me to go through this interview process. That's what we will allow, because again, it goes back to, how do we serve the community, make sure that everyone feels like they are a part of the community, that their concerns and questions and complaints matter, and that's what we want to do.
Yeah. And it is a rising concern now, especially with officers being called in situations where it is a mental health, person that is, they're being called on, and it's becoming a new shift as how do we respond to those type of complaints, and how do we respond to these people versus locking them up. So it's something that comes down the line, and of course we would be at the end of that line, and we definitely try to do what we can to support everyone within our community. But it's something that everyone needs to adjust to and make sure that they're accommodating,
Yes,
all of our people in our community.
yes.
But it looks like that's all we have for tonight, Lee. So you want to go ahead and close it out? um, I know it's
Yeah,
typically it's
yeah.
typically it's typically a little bit longer. We usually have like a longer form, so we're both kind of like, hey, but that's all we have. We didn't have many questions from the chat line tonight, so
Well,
that's pretty much it.
well, Melissa, you know, sometimes people have questions that they want to ask that they just haven't asked anyone, because they might feel like, oh, well, everybody may already know this answer, or that might be a ridiculous question or whatever. But, our goal is, we want to answer every question. If no matter how basic a question it may be, we want to answer that question, or how complicated that question may be. We are here for the citizens, we are here for the officers, we're here for the department, for the city in general.
Right.
We want people to understand that civilian oversight is about accountability. It's about um, uh, ensuring that citizens have voices are heard and that they're understood, and that where there are issues, we can come to places to be able to resolve those issues or concerns. Best believe anybody out there listening to this, you're not the only one. You're not the only one. So ask your question. Ask your question so that everyone can get an answer to the question. You know,
Right.
and um, we're here for you. That's it. And people can contact us on our phone number, 404-865-8622. They
Go
can
ahead.
email us. They can visit our website at acrbgov.org. If you want to email us, you can email us at acrb@atlantaga.gov. You can email me at slreid@atlantaga.gov. I mean, we want to be, and we're on social media.
Yes.
What is it? Twitter and
We're on Twitter, we're
Instagram.
on Facebook, and we're on Instagram. If you
Yeah.
look up the Atlanta Citizens Review Board, you'll find us on Twitter. We're the ATL CRB. And we definitely want to reach out if you have any questions, if you need help filing a complaint. That's exactly what we're here for. We have resources on all of our platforms that just inform you on different things that we're doing within the community. We're always out there trying to speak to people and let people know who we are and what we're doing. It's something that everyone needs to know. It's a resource that, we always say, we don't want to have to use, but you need to know that you have it, and we're here to support one another, and that's the main thing.
Yes.
But that's all for this week's Tuesday Night Talk, and we'll see you all in again another 2 weeks with another fresh topic. And we hope you all have a good night.
Have a good night, everyone. Thank you, Melissa. I really appreciate you.
Thank you. No problem, Lee.